All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Signing in CAS 360 webinar. My name is Emily, and I'm part of the training and documentation team here at BGL, and we'll be guiding you with all things digital signing today. So this is our first installment for our CAS 360 Education Week. We have webinars running on our most demanded features every day throughout this week. So if you're new to CAS 360 or maybe you've been with us for a while, it's definitely going to be a great week to learn about something new. So I'll leave a link in our chat box if you wanted to register. It's all free, but if you can't make it, that's completely fine. These webinars will be recorded and will be made available on our BGL YouTube channel. So I've just linked the site to where you can register just in our chat box. And with that being said, we have some housekeeping. So just to note that all attendees will be on listen-only mode today. But if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to let us know using the Q&A function. And you'll find that just at the bottom of your Zoom application. So I have here with me a number of knowledgeable colleagues to assist with answering those questions as well. So feel free to ask your questions during the webinar, and we'll also allocate some time after the webinar as well. And also, just as a reminder, this webinar will be recorded and all registered attendees will receive an email after today's session with the link to that recording. All right, so just to give you an overview of what to expect in today's session. So we'll begin with a look at our supported digital signing providers, and we'll talk about what accounts you'll need to proceed with the integration. Once we have our account, we can then proceed with the integration itself. So it is a one-stop connection, and you can enable or disable any particular account at any point in time. And that's all done in our integration screen in CAS 360. We'll then be ready to prepare our documents with digital signing enabled. And I'll also show you what it looks like from the client's perspective in terms of what it looks like to actually electronically sign those documents. And then finally, we'll look at some guidelines surrounding digital signing, and we'll introduce some tips along the way. All right, so let's begin then. So with setting up an account, it's important to note that the integration itself in CAS 360 is free, but you will need to have a subscription with at least one of our supported digital signing providers. So that is an additional cost. So currently we support Adobe Sign, DocuSign, and FuseSign, and we are looking to add to this list. But as of right now, to proceed with digital signing in CAS 360, you'll need to have an account with at least one of these providers. And you can simply navigate to their website for more details, such as what is included in the plan and important information surrounding the signing credits and the costs involved. Now, just to note as well that multiple digital signing providers are supported. And I'll show you how you can enable or disable any one account once we set up the integration. But first, you'll need to have any of the accounts displayed on this slide, which is the enterprise account under Adobe Sign, the advanced solutions plan with DocuSign, or the business light plan or higher with FuseSign. We also get questions on whether these signatories require an account. And the answer to that question is no. So only the CAS 360 license requires a digital signing account. The signatories themselves, they don't require an account to proceed with signing. So what happens here is that an email will be sent to the signatories with the documents, and all they will need to do is to click on the link within the email to proceed with signing. So I'll demonstrate what that looks like later on in today's session. But once again, only the CAS 360 license requires a digital signing account, whereas your clients or the signatories themselves, they don't require a subscription to proceed with signing. All right, so I have an account with each of these providers. So let's have a look at how to set up the integration. Okay, so I'm here logged into my CAS 360. And to proceed with integration, I'll need to head to the right-hand side toolbar and click on the square dotted icon, which is our app switcher, and click on integrations. And from this page, we'll need to select the digital signing tab. And that will take us to a page where I can see our 3 supported digital signing providers. So you can then click on the gear icon next to the provider you're looking to integrate with. So the process, it is identical with all 3. So I'll first demonstrate the process with DocuSign. I'm simply clicking on the gear icon next to DocuSign and clicking on Connect. You will then just need to acknowledge the prerequisites. So it's simply stating out what account you will need. If you have a plan with DocuSign, simply click on Accept. And you can see here it's automatically connected for me, but if it is your first time setting up, you'll just need to enter in your DocuSign account credentials to authenticate the account. So you can see here that the authentication is now active, and it's a very similar process with the other digital signing providers as well. So I'm simply heading now back into the digital signing tab, clicking on the gear icon next to Adobe Sign, and then clicking on Connect. So once again, acknowledging the prerequisites. So we will need an enterprise plan with Adobe Sign. If we do, we can click on Accept. And it's redirected me to enter in my Adobe Sign credentials. So what's unique with the Adobe Sign setup is just to ensure that you've entered in the email address associated with your account. So don't enter in the password and click sign in at this stage. Just enter in the email, and it'll take a few moments for it to redirect you once again to continue on with the sign in. So there we are. So it's just redirected me. I can continue on with the sign in process. So with the authentication process, it's just giving BGL permission to access the digital signing account. But once it is active, any user in CAS 360 can leverage that integration. So you can see here now that it is now active, so we can continue on with FuseSign as well. I'll head back into the digital signing tab, clicking on the gear icon next to FuseSign and clicking on Connect. So we'll need a business-like plan or higher. I have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Accept. My details are saved within this browser, so I'm just going to go ahead and authorize my CAS 360 license, and it is now active. So once again, connecting with multiple digital signing providers are supported. And from here, you can choose which provider you like to use as default, so that the next time you are preparing documents, that digital signing provider will automatically be selected. So for today's webinar, we'll use FuseSign as our default provider. And also just to show you, it is also very easy to disconnect. All you'll need to do is to click back into the gear icon and click on disconnect. And it will then automatically remove that integration with the digital signing account. And you can then authenticate again at any point in time. So as mentioned before, it is a once-off connection. And now that we've set up the integration, we're now ready to send our documents to be digitally signed. Okay, so I'm going to head now back into my CAS 360. I'm right here in my company selection screen, and we're going to process some company changes to produce documents that we'll need to send to our clients for signing. So as an example, I'll head into one of my companies here. We'll go straight into the Officers tab and we'll process documents for an appointment of a director. So I have a director saved on the screen. The status is appointed. I'm going to simply toggle on the print function. And on the bottom right-hand side is where I can prepare documents. So that will take me straight to document production. So anytime you are preparing documents, it will take you to the screen. In this case, it's produce the relevant documents in relation to our company change, which is the director appointment. So what I want to emphasize on is that the digital signing process, it is identical for every document you produce in CAS 360. So we are processing an officer change here, but for any other documents produced, these same rules will apply. So what you will notice here is that now we have a banner on the very top, and that's indicating the number of documents that can be digitally signed using our default digital signing provider. So we have selected 3 documents to be signed using FuseSign, and these 3 documents here, they relate to these 3 documents down here that has the pen icon active. So you can choose to disable digital signing for a particular document by clicking the pen icon off. And in that case, the document will require a wet ink signature instead. So we'll leave it on for those 3 documents. I might as well include the member minutes or resolution as well with the pen icon active. And so the banner is updated now to 4 documents to be signed using FuseSign. Now, what I will direct you to is electronic signing options on the bottom right-hand side of document production. And that's going to enable you to switch between the signing providers. So here we've got the default signing provider FuseSign, but I can choose to have these documents be powered by either DocuSign or Adobe Sign instead. And as part of settings is an option of where your clients can receive the completed signed document pack once it's been signed by all the signatories. So this completed pack, it will be sent via email and will be sent to both the preparer and the signers of the documents once it's been completely signed. So we'll leave it toggled on and I'll show you what that email looks like once we have our document signed. You can also choose to enable 2-factor authentication for signatories. And what this does is that it's just going to confirm the signer's identity before they proceed to review and sign those documents. And so the way that we can confirm this is through an SMS code that will be sent to the signer's mobile number, which the client will need to confirm in order to access and sign the documents. So we'll leave it toggled off for now, but I'll show you what that looks like in a later example. On the screen is where you can see your signatories. We only have one in this example. In the dropdown is where you can edit their email and mobile number. So it's very important that you've got the right email address for your signatories. And you can also confirm the documents that are to be signed. So currently we have 4 documents to be signed by this signatory. All right, so I'm just going to hit save, and just to let you know as well, with the documents generated in CAS 360, the placeholders, they are set for you. So within the records of the company, we know the directors, the shareholders, so essentially the people signing, as well as the document dates. So those signature fields, it will be set for you. Now, if you'd like to change the form signatory, you can click on options next to the particular document. And in the form signatory section, you can click on the drop-down and select from the options. So I only have one director for this company, so it's why I can only see one option appearing here for the form 484. Okay, so we're now ready to send these documents. Now, it's important to note that if you were to click download all that we'll be doing is downloading the document pack to your device. But since we have digital signing enabled, I'll need to select send all to send the documents to my signatories. So that's an important distinction there. If you do have digital signing enabled, just important to click send all and use the emailing system within CAS 360 just to make sure that you're making the most out of the integration. But from here, you can preview the email prior to sending it off. You can see here it's addressed to the respective signatory, noting down what documents are required to be signed. We can edit this email directly on this screen. This email template, it is also customizable for default or permanent changes. And we actually have a webinar running later on this week, which will discuss how to customize those templates. And that will be posted on our YouTube channel as well. But we're happy with this email. So I'm just going to hit send and I'll show you what that email looks like. Okay, so I prepared one earlier, so I'm just gonna go ahead and into my email. So now looking at this from the client's perspective, they will see an email appearing. So if they have access to their email, they can click into that notification. So you can see here, we've got the email template that we saw earlier generated from CAS 360. And all the client will need to do is to select review documents. So you can see here that it's taken the client to the screen where they're requested to sign those documents powered by FuseSign as per this example. And we can then click on review documents. So the process, it is similar for all of the digital signing providers. So it will then redirect them. So they can even access this from their mobile phone as well. So it is mobile friendly. And all the client will need to do is to select Get Started. So we'll take them straight to their documents. So you can see here, there's no passwords or logging in or anything of the like. It'll take them straight to the documents. And it is the client's responsibility to ensure that the details within these documents are correct. But from here, they can choose to reject the document or start signing. So we'll select Start Signing. It's then highlighted the description to sign. I can select into that and once again, and I can enter in my full name, which will be used as the signature. So I'll just put in the name here. We can hit sign and it's filled in that signature field. So if I were to head back, you can see here it's filled in that field with my signature. And so we can continue on sequentially. So remember, we have just about 4 documents to be signed here as noted before when we were preparing those documents. So I'm simply hitting sign and the signature field will be filled in with my signature. There we are. So all 4 documents are now completed. It's letting me know that I'm done. So what I'll show you now as well is the completed signed document pack. So we were lucky that we only had 1 signatory for these documents. So it's been completely signed off. And because we've toggled on the option to have the completed document pack to be sent to the signers, it will now be received in my email. So I'll head now back into my email. You can see here that we will get a notification from FuseSign. So as part of the package with FuseSign, both the signer and the preparer will automatically get an email from them as well, just noting down that the signing is complete. Okay, so here is the completed document pack. So this will be sent to both the signer and the preparer. So that's 2 separate emails, one for each of the signatories and one for the preparer. And attached will be the documents that have been completely signed. So you can see here that it's been signed by our signatory for all of those 4 documents. And we've also got the audit report. So this has the complete audit trail. So you can check where and at what time it's been signed, and it can be used as the digital signing certificate. All right. So what I'll show you now as well is what it looks like with two-factor authentication toggled on. So I'm now going to head back into my CAS 360. We'll prepare those documents once again. And this time under electronic signing options, I'm just going to toggle on to use SMS as 2FA for signatories. Now, what's important here is that in the dropdown for your signatories, just ensure that you've got the right mobile number entered in. So you can click on those links to edit. So I'll just quickly enter in that detail. So just bear with me for just a moment as I put in the mobile number. All right, there we are. So I've just entered that in. And once you're done, simply hit save and send those documents off. So it's the same process as before, but with two-factor authentication, it's just adding that added layer of security just to ensure that the individuals that are meant to be reviewing and signing those documents are the right ones. So I've just sent those documents off. I have that within my email. So the same template that you see earlier from CAS 360. So all the client will need to do is to select review documents. And this time they're taken to the screen. So what the client will need to do is to select send code, and a code will be sent to their mobile number, hopefully if you've entered it in correctly in CAS 360. So I've just received that code and I can now enter that in and click OK. All right, so my identity is now verified, so I can continue on to review those documents, and it's the same as before. So just to note that I am using FuseSign as the example for today, but if you'd like me to demonstrate the signing process for our other digital signing providers, just let me know in the Q&A, and I can certainly do that for you at the end of today's webinar. But once again, the process, it is very similar. So I'm going to hit get started, and this time I'll reject these documents just to show you what it looks like back in CAS 360. So we'll hit reject documents. I'll put in a reason. We'll put in wrong details just as an example, and we'll hit reject. Okay. Now heading back into CAS 360. So now we're going to look at this from the preparer's perspective in terms of what it looks like when those documents have been signed or declined. So whether or not those documents have been accepted or rejected, they will come through as a notification for the preparer of those documents. So those notifications can be found in the CAS 360 inbox. You can find them sitting under messages on the left-hand side. So this is our inbox right here. Alternatively, you can find that in the notification bell icon on the top right-hand side. So if a document requires more than one signature, it will get a notification for each signatory and a final notification once it's been signed by all the recipients. So I'm just going to click on view next to the ones that were just rejected. And that's going to enable me to view all the documents that were initially sent to the client, as well as the reason for the decline sitting here on the very bottom. So hovering over that attachment, I can preview the attachment, or we can download. So I'll preview that on screen. And you can see here that the reason is wrong details. Likewise, I can do the same for the documents that were accepted. So that's this notification right here. So the documents were digitally signed. We can view that, and you can see all of the documents that were initially sent to the client. And down below is where we've got the completed document pack. So that has been completely signed. And we've also got the audit report as well. So this is what we saw earlier. So You'll also find these two emails in your, the two documents in your email as well, once it's been signed by all the signatories, if you've toggled on the function for the completed pack to be emailed. So that's what we saw earlier, sitting right underneath electronic signing options. Now, all of these documents, it will be saved in the Global Documents tab, as well as against the company documents. To access company documents, simply head to the company selection screen on the left-hand side. Select the company at hand. And the tab here at the very end is documents. So that is all of the documents in relation to the company that you have selected. So we've got some great filters on the left-hand side. So that's where you can filter it down to those documents that were electronically signed. The status will update as well. So here we've got FuseSign, sent to client, declined, and signed as well, as per this example. But once those documents have been digitally signed, those signed documents will be automatically attached against the company change. So you can find them under options and by selecting attachments. So these were the attachments that we just saw earlier. So from here, you can then easily lodge those documents. So the only difference without having electronic signing enabled is that you'd have to have the clients physically sign those documents, send it back to you. You'll then need to upload it to CAS 360 either through the upload function on the top left-hand side or against the company change by selecting options and attachments and manually uploading those documents. So that's done manually prior to lodgement. So digital signing, it's definitely worth investing in for your practice, as just adds that efficiency in your workflow, where once those documents are signed by your clients, it's automatically attached back in CAS 360. So that really speeds up the time you get those documents back. So the client doesn't need to print anything out or scan anything. So it's a big time-saving opportunity. Now, what I'll show you is a new feature that we've recently added, and that's the ability to void documents. So you'll find that option where the status is electronic signing sent to client. So as per this example, we've got FuseSign sent to client, and sitting right under options is the option to void. So what this does is that by marking as void, the recipients of the documents won't be able to click on the link to proceed with signing. So this is useful if you've sent documents to a client with incorrect details, or maybe the documents were sent to the wrong recipients altogether. You can mark it as void. Now, just to note as well that once voiding a document, it cannot be reverted. So in this case, once you've marked it as void, it would just be a matter of re-preparing those documents again and sending them to the right clients from there. Okay. So final tip of the day is that digital signing, it is also integrated with your document deadline reminders. So I'm going to head now back into company selection. So we have the deadline alert. So it is calculated for ASIC forms, and it's noted by the paper icon. And I have it active here for one of my companies. And by hovering over the paper icon, it will allow me to send reminders to my clients to ensure that those documents are being signed before I get hit by any late fees. So we'll click on send reminder. You can choose to send a reminder via email or via SMS. So once again, your clients can sign from their mobile device as well. And attached will be the forms that require a signature. And you can toggle on to attach the form, and automatically will be displayed the status. So CAS 360 does check which recipients had signed and which of them are yet to sign. So I am yet to sign these documents, but you can see here that automatically the relevant recipients will appear, and I can go ahead and send those reminders off for those documents to be signed. So really powerful visibility across all of your documents where you have digital signing enabled. Right, so as we know, the biggest obstacle is just getting those documents signed back from our clients in the first place. But as you just saw from today's session, it's really easy to sign, and your clients, they can sign anywhere at any time. And with digital signing enabled, those signed documents are automatically returned back to you, hopefully before you have to face any late fees. All right, so before we close off, I just want to show you some guidelines around digital signing. So I'll just head back to my slides. So digital signing at present, it is widely accepted by ASIC as well as being recognized at court. ASIC has released an electronic lodgement protocol, which sets out the terms and conditions for lodging electronic documents with ASIC. And what I'll do as well is I'll have a copy of these slides be sent to all of the registered attendees, just so that you can access the references. Just to note, though, that whilst many of the forms that are prepared in CAS 360 can be digitally signed, the Form 362 still requires a wet ink signature as advised by ASIC. So it is a special condition that applies to agents, and this particular form must be kept for no less than 7 years from the date of signing. And likewise, the office occupier's consent form cannot be digitally signed either, and is therefore not supported in CAS 360 for electronic signing. All right, so with that being said, that comes to the end of today's training. We'll leave the webinar open for any questions. But if you have to leave, I want to thank you for your time, and hopefully you've gained something valuable from today's session. But for now, we'll leave the webinar open for any questions.